Greetings, everybody. This is Krish Dhanam. I'm coming to you from my office in Dallas, Texas, where our company is headquartered, and this is where we do most of our journeying from, albeit virtually in the last 6 months. But we've had the privilege of crisscrossing the globe, and our group of companies allows Dallas to be our home to send us as emissaries to the world. Many of you watching this probably know me by name. That's why you decided to watch this video. For those of you that are newcomers, hopefully my journey will give you one of intrigue and hope, will instill some possibility and probability in your own life, give you some information, some encouragement, and some intuition into the plans. The organizers asked me to create a video for you that can be uploaded, that would be informative, and as a result of that, we titled this message, The Architecture of Discipline, a Blueprint for Achievement. The subsect of it is, how do you rate? How do you rate and move from survival to stability, from stability to success, and from success to significance? I want to give you a few stories along the way, maybe share a few quotes along the way, and then keep our time with you both informational and brief. I was born in Visakhapatnam, the city of destiny, and like many of the people who have had the privilege of visiting that grandiose city, I stared off at the ships in the harbor as they left one by one and just played a game. Will any of them have my story? Can any of them take me to where my dreams will eventually yield? And now, after 75 countries and 6 continents of being a speaker and a trainer and a writer, I've learned that one of the things that goals and dreams are just that. Goals and dreams that have to have a beginning. Something that is wondrous, something that is magical, something that allows your imagination to go crazy. So the reliability formula, the RATE, R stands for reliability in our formula. How reliable are you, both to others, to your thoughts, to your dreams, to your hopes, to your aspirations? My father studied under a streetlight to get his college degree and eventually at the age of 83 finished his PhD. So I come from good stock of pursuit. So when you look at your own reliability and how do you rate in creating this blueprint for achievement, the first question to ask yourself is, who are you? This is role identity. Second is, where do you come from? This is role origination. Third is, who inspires you? This may be role approval. Fourth is, what makes you laugh? This may be role justification or role mirth. Fifth is, what makes you cry? This may be role agony. Sixth is hope, role destiny. Where do you go from here? John Maxwell, leadership luminary, said, when there's hope in the future, there's power in the present. Alfred Adler said, hope is the foundational quality of all change. So as you're watching this, as you're engaging with me, as you're trying to take notes for yourself, I want this to be motivational to the degree it can be motivational, but I also want it to be practical. Tradition throughout history of humanity has always just been tradition. It has never been strategy. If you want to succeed and get a solid blueprint for your own achievement, you have to ask yourself some very fundamental and pivotal questions. What traditions are you willing to abdicate on the altar of progress? What traditions will you never sacrifice in the need for progress? Respect is a tradition I don't ever want to let go of. Humility is a tradition I never want to let go of. Loyalty is a tradition I never want to let go of. By the same token, prosperity, hope, ambition, desire, accomplishment are all birthed in these concepts of having dignity, but asking yourself, how reliable are you? Can you consistently perform in a way that would bring joy to those around you and bring hope to you and bring promise to the future that is seen for you? Dr. Joyce Brothers always said, you cannot consistently perform in a manner inconsistent with the way you see yourself. So when you're looking at the blueprint for achievement, as I did in those early days of my journey when I came to the West and chose to become a communicator, which was a hard sell in those days, even to their immediate loved ones. Everybody was supposed to go into business because they had come to the West to find fame and fortune, or you came here as a doctor, or you came here for technical studies and stayed back and got that desire to participate in infrastructure and industry and eventually start your own company. There I was in sales. I was not good at anything else because most of you who have heard my story know I was not a good student. In fact, I jokingly tell people I successfully always graduated in that half of the class that made the top half possible. which means for me, education was something that came very hard. Now, knowledge and wisdom later on in life, in terms of my own pursuit, came easy because the reason for learning changed. Which means in the reliability, the first question you have to ask yourself is, why do you want to improve? Why do you want to excel? Why do you want your footprint to be on the sands of time so that people can look at your legacy and say, that person made a marked difference? Now, I'm fortunate. I've been to 75 countries on 6 continents, and some of my early trajectories that resulted in abject failure have now yielded positive results. And as a result of those positive results, what keeps me going today and gets me excited every day is now the testimonials I get from people from across the globe saying, thank you for going down my path. Thank you for coming to my tone. The first thing is reliability. How reliable are you? Where we ask ourselves those pivotal questions about role origin, role identity, role destiny, role hope, etc. The second component is your adaptability or your availability. When I met my mentor and hero, Zig Ziglar, he often quoted to me this saying, if you are looking for a short-term quick fix, I'm not your guy. If you want long-term voluntary change, I'm your guy. I didn't understand what that meant till he asked me to sign a blank sheet of paper. And I signed the blank sheet of paper because I so desperately wanted change in my life. I wanted to adapt to whatever. Now, it bucks tradition. Most of us have distrust and mistrust as part of our DNA. So trusting a total stranger who you just admire because he had an ability and signing a blank piece of paper is not the smartest move. But I signed it. I was desperate. And on top of that signature, he simply wrote, today I, Krish Dhanam, commit to being a 10-year overnight success. Now, when I signed that piece of paper, it was about 11 years to the date I signed the paper or to the year I signed the paper when I started getting those breaks I had so planned and prepared for. The principle is this: when you plan to win and prepare to win, only then can you legitimately expect to win. Most people will go to the harbor of life waiting for their ship to come in, knowing in their heart it never set sail in the first place. I vividly remember the story told to me about a generational instrument in a house. It was an axe, the old-fashioned wood-cutting axe. The father gave it proudly to his son and said, this came from my grandfather to my father, and my father to me, and me to you. So as a result, this 4-generational family heirloom is one of great promise and pride, protected with everything you have. And some of us have those traditions. Those traditions that my grandfather went to university, so I have to go to university, or my grandfather's a doctor, so I have to be a doctor, whatever it is. But the principle of the axe is quite profound. When the kid asked the father, is this the same axe? He said, aside from us sharpening the blade a little bit, maybe recasting the actual head of it and polishing up the handle and sanding it down and painting it over, and I think we replaced the handle twice and we've replaced the grip about 3 times. Besides all those changes, it's identically the same axe that built our homestead. And the kid thought to himself for a second, so amidst all those changes, the only thing that has stayed constant is the function. And that's what adaptability is. There are many changes you will go through in your life, but ask yourself, as long as your core function of who you are and what you want to be is solid, you can change your direction as long as you keep that destination solid. So as you're building this blueprint for achievement, the first question to ask yourself is, how well do you rate? These are those questions you asked about your origin and your hope and your identity and all of that. The second is your adaptability, the acclimatization you can take place to an environment. When I first came to the West, trying to fit in was hard, till I understood that the Western mindset and the Eastern mindset unified in a lot of similarities. Our hopes were the same. Our dreams were the same. Our ambitions were the same. We all wanted to be happy. We all wanted to be healthy. We all wanted to be reasonably or unreasonably prosperous. We wanted to have friends. We wanted to have security. We wanted to have peace of mind. We wanted to have good family relationships, and we wanted to have hope. This was the list I found in a book, See You at the Top, that my mentor, Mr. Ziglar, wrote. When I started embracing those qualities and realizing that there is more that unifies us than separates us, acclimatization and adaptability became easy because I was no longer a foreign person trying to speak a language that was not native to me and trying to adhere to customs that were alien to me. I had now made a choice to be in this environment. All I had to do was focus on the ripples in front of me, and the tsunamis would take care of themselves. Not to talk about dire destruction, but understand this. Earthquakes and hurricanes get all the publicity. Termites do more damage. You can make radical changes in minute steps. Eric Hoffer, change agent, said it is in times of change that the learners will inherit the earth, while the learned will find themselves beautifully equipped for things that they did not prepare for. They will be beautifully equipped for a world that no longer exists. William Carey said it this way. He says, attempt great things, expect great things. What are the things in your heart, the desires in your heart that will make you change? Now stop being a skeptic. Sometimes we're so skeptical about everything that we really stay on the sidelines. I once heard the story about it took place in a small town where a guy decided he would go and pretend to be a doctor. When he arrived at this place, he was not a doctor, so he just put up a sign. If I can cure you, it's 500 rupees. If I can't cure you, it'll be 1,000. Whether it's rupees or dollars, the number doesn't matter. It was just a number he put up for currency. There was a skeptic who went up to the doctor and said, Doc, I seem to be losing my sense of taste. Now, this guy is not a real doctor, so he asked his nurse, who's not a real nurse, why don't you get 2 drops of that liquid in bin number 23 and put it in the patient's mouth? As soon as she did that, he says, oh my God, that's petrol, it's gasoline. The doctor said, congratulations, you got your taste back, that'll be 500. Now, obviously, we're laughing at this, but this guy who's a skeptic didn't obviously learn. He comes back a week later and said, I'm losing my mind, I'm losing my memory, I'm losing my ability to comprehend. The doctor looks at this lady who's not a nurse and says, nurse, go to bin number 23, bring 2 drops of the liquid and put it in the patient's mouth. At which point the patient said, oh no, you don't, that's gasoline. And the guy says, congratulations, you just got your memory back, that'll be another 500. Now realizing he'd been conned twice, he waited a while and he went back a 3rd time and he says, Doc, I seem to be losing my sight. I seem to be losing my ability to see, to visualize. And the doc said, I have no cure for vision. Here's your 1,000. And the individual looked at the note and said, this is only 500. He said, congratulations, you got your vision back. Now, obviously, that's a stretch and it's just a story, but sometimes in our skepticism, we miss the opportunities in life because we were so radically skeptical in believing that this thing does not exist for us, it is not available to us, my self-image will not allow me to dream that dream, my ability would not allow me to have that access. So when you look at how reliable you are and you have overcome your adaptability or your acclimatization, the transformation, the T in our how do you rate formula, the transformation begins from within. And the transformation begins with 3 primary principles. The first principle you have to accept in transformation is internalization, which means anytime you hear a principle, anytime you hear a concept, you have to take it in and ask yourself, can this, will this, should this work for you? Once you have understood the internalization, then comes personalization. How would you use it? And once you internalize and vocalize this, you can personalize this on command. As I started going down this track of understanding that the world is just the world, I'm not the small kid from the small town in rural southern India who was going to compete with giants. I was wonderfully and fearfully made to compete with giants. That there are 7.85 billion people on planet Earth, but God in His infinite wisdom only made one me. Which means in all of human history, there's only one person who thinks, acts, and looks like me. In my uniqueness, I have a destiny. In my uniqueness, I have a purpose. In my uniqueness, I have promise. In my uniqueness, I have proclamation. So ask yourself those simple questions. Who are you? Where do you come from? And all of that in your reliability. In your acclimatization, your adaptability, ask yourself some pivotal change questions of short-term versus long-term. In your transformation, ask yourself the questions of internalization, personalization, and vocalization. Which brings us to the E, which is excellence. Excellence is an attribute. Excellence is a pursuit. Excellence is something that is self-defining, self-fulfilling. Eleanor Roosevelt said, other people can tell you what you can or cannot be, only you can fulfill it. The great bard Karl Barth once said that none of us can go back and make a brand new beginning, but all of us can start now and make a fantastic ending. I remember when I was growing up in India, IIT was creme de la creme. It was the top of the charts. It was the best place you can get into. I recently had someone in our family who qualified for it, which means that kid's got to be brilliant. Now, when you look at the number of people that can squeeze through the entrance exam and be selected of all the hundreds of thousands that give the entrance exam to be accepted for that body, my folks were pretty sure that I would not get in. I never had the smarts for it. I don't know if my brother did. He was a graduate engineer, but he was probably smarter than me anyway because he succeeded. But I went through life meandering with the belief that I was never good enough to get into any of these places. And it was proven time and again. Well, lo and behold, 35 years after I left my hometown and came away to the West and pursued some of these dreams and accepted some of these monikers in my life, I was invited back to speak at IIT Madras. And when I went to IIT Madras, I remember calling my dad and I said, "Dad, guess where I am?" He said, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm at IIT." He said, "Are you lost?" And I jokingly tell that story because obviously, that's tongue in cheek. But what he was saying is, that's an august institution. What is someone like you doing there? Now, I'm really glad IIT never lowered its standards for me, but kept their standards same. And I went off on a journey and had earned the standard to come there and speak, even though I did not have the qualifications to go there to learn. That's life. That's the excellence that becomes the journey of your life, because you will return back full circle to some point. So when you look at the architecture of discipline, that's what discipline is. Sybil Stanton said, discipline is not on your back needling you with imperatives. It's at your side encouraging you with incentives. To which I added, the day you make yourself a slave to discipline, the world will become your oyster. Be disciplined. Have a blueprint. Learn how to rate reliability, accessibility, adaptability, acclimatization, whatever word you want to use. So the R stands for reliability. How reliable are you? The A stands for adaptability. The T stands for transformation, internalization, personalization, and vocalization. And the E stands for excellence. I'll close with a very simple illustration. It comes from a quote of mine. Plan with attitude, prepare with aptitude, participate with servitude, receive with gratitude, and that should be enough to separate you from the multitudes. Understand that these principles are not complex. These principles are fairly simple. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you have any comments, please contact the organizers and the links they provide, and we'd be glad to participate. Until next time, this is Krish Dhanam. Good luck. God bless.